I am Surat, and this is my Safarnama. I'm not particularly known for my educational prowess. My perception of being all business often clouds reality. In fact, few of my educational institutions are over 100 years old, many at par with the best ones in the country. Students are the key to any civilization, as they are the future dreamers. Letting previous generations off the hook for their mistakes and correcting courses for a kinder, vibrant, and fruitful future. Our protagonist today has a long history with institutions and students alike. Persi Engineer is a force of nature. People who know him will vouch for his ambition and unapologetic quest for excellence. You are either flowing with him or bowing out of his force field. He was the principal at Designers-Surat for many years before becoming the first Provost of Sarvajanik University. He is fearless, methodical, and with age, his appetite to manifest his vision has only gotten ruthless and nuanced. This is him telling us about his flamboyant young days, of the intricacies of what it takes to make educational institutions thrive, of quitting smoking cold turkey, of making his students travel the world, and also of the young adult who didn't have much but aspired for everything in the world. Presenting Persi Engineer, narrating his Safarnama.
So, we've heard a few instances about your being in college and you organizing some kind of protest. What is that about?
Because my father was also a union leader. He was a very strong union leader. So all from my childhood, I always knew how to fight for it. So when I went to college, I realized that this so-called big universities are only namesake, and the rest are all really not what you are looking for. And most of the architecture education, though I am now into education and therefore I could bring some changes in education, because what I realized that most of the teachers in architecture are the ones who could not practice. And that, I'm making a big statement. People should not misunderstand me, because now things are different. Now things are different. People into profession want to be part of academics, not only because they want to learn something, but they actually want to give back to the society. So now things are very different. But a time was there when most of the teachers were not practicing. And therefore there was a lot amount of frustrated souls in architecture schools.
We need you to be more specific.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you mean by more specific?
I don't know. Okay, was there a girl involved? I'll ask you.
No, okay. Majority of my teachers were angry because I was always surrounded by girls. And they always thought that मैं खामखा अपने आप को कृष्णा की तरह देख रहा हूँ. They all thought I was the one who is spoiling the girls, and I was the one. I used to smoke a lot, let me tell you. That was things that was bad. And I had great style. Like, for example, if I have to light a cigarette, I only had matchsticks in my pocket. And I can light matchsticks on any surface. On any surface. It could be glass, wood, stone. तो मैं बहुत फंडा मारा था, वो typical style. तो cigarette डाल के टाक करके जला के जलाता था. And then I used to teach all the girls how to light it.
Oh. To light it for themselves or to light it for you?
Light it for me.
Okay.
See, it's like now as a teacher, when I would see that, I would be angry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can now imagine that they were angry on me. But
fair enough.
But all the naughty things that I did, I am also happy with it, because I think that is what brought me here.
So most of the things are same except for smoking.
Smoking, yes, I left it because, again, as I said, I am very particular, sincere, and I can do anything in life. Once I resolve. I still remember 12th December 1998. I went to a doctor, a friend, Dr. Desai. I can name his. I was doing his hospital, and I was discussing my design with him. And then a patient came, so he checked his blood pressure. I said, "Mera bhi check karo." So उसने मेरा blood pressure check किया, and it was high. He said, Persi, you have high blood pressure. I said, impossible. तब मैं बहुत gymming करता था. My name was Sunny Deol in hostel. I had good V-shaped body, and anyway. So the doctor said कि मुझे blood pressure है. I can't believe it. So he said, काम करो, लेट जाओ 10 मिनट के लिए. We'll have your blood pressure again. And then it was high. So then I came down. I used to have gold flake. Parking में आया, मैंने मेरा gold flakes जलाया. Wabis was with me, my wife. She said, how can you be so shameful? You know, somebody saying that you are having high blood pressure and you must stop smoke. I used to smoke 50 to 60 cigarettes a day. Let me tell you, it was crazy.
Oh.
And I said, don't say a word. This is my last cigarette. 12th December 1998. And I smoked my last cigarette, and I actually threw it saying, here goes my last cigarette. And that was my last cigarette. So though I may be very flamboyant in my way I speak or act, but if I decide something for my good, I would do it.
No wonder we call you the man of action.
Yeah. So that's how I stopped cigarette. But now when I go back to my past, and I think that I was smoking, and I said it was good that I was smoking, because now there are several instances where there are so many friends, so many students who have left smoking because of me. Yeah, so I could probably not only convince but also inspire a lot of people. So
from a visiting faculty to the principal, and it's like 2 decades or more.
Yeah, more.
So how did you negotiate with the political part? I mean, it's not something very usual, or it's not something very common for a person to hold on to a position for so long, so strong.
See, politics, it depends on how you take politics, you know. And politics has to be played back or replied back with politics. I have a very strong statement which I've been always using, that politics is played to keep the fools away. You know? So politics is not a negative term. Let me tell you, it is one of a very beautiful defensive tool that you can use against morons.
Why we ask this is because, see, there are several, instruments playing within a setup like a college, right? Yeah. And there are different forces who, tend to pull you or push you.
Yeah.
So it's not truly about the politics of those things. We're talking about those forces that were in play. How did you negotiate that? You rose above all that, and
head on.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I had lots of forces that would ask me. That would try to pull me down. But I have always taken all those forces head on, because once I have decided, if I can live a cigarette on one statement, I think that is one of the biggest challenge that one has to take, because there is a solid craving for nicotine. If I could beat that, I don't think any of these negative forces can pull me down. I created an image that I am a no-nonsense person. And to create that image, I actually had to be completely non-tolerant to nonsense.
Yeah.
And gradually people started getting that signal that, okay, he will not take it. And once people get that signal, you are done with 75% of problems of your life. Most of the time, we don't convey what we want.
Right.
I am very clear about it. This is what I will accept. This is I will not accept.
Right. So probably being explicit is your key to survival, or your key to success.
Yes.
But then there were a lot of support systems there with you.
Yes.
And I think that must have played a big role in you, getting that confidence of going where you were going.
Yes. You can reach nowhere without support system, without your colleagues and friends supporting you. And that was known to me right in my college days. When you talked about the kind of protest that I used to do in the college, it was possible only because I had unconditional support from my hostel friends and from my classmates. So I knew that the only way to go further is to go with a team. So even when I joined academics, my major contribution to academics at SCAT. Academics comes later. It was more of team building. So when you say I do not networking or I do team building, it has not just happened because I read books or things like that. It has actually happened because of great complex that I had as a childhood. Now let me tell you the real story, okay? I come from a very lower income, middle class family. But fortunately, my parents had the wisdom to put me in an English medium school in Lutz Convent. Now, when you say you go to Lutz Convent, that was one of the best schools in the city. So you have people whose fathers were industrialists and people who are Nawabs of Sachin and Dumas and people who are having ginning mills, all the rich guys. Right? And I was the only person who had no money. So how do you actually get good girlfriends? That is, you really create an aura around you where you can impress girls, you can make more friends. So this whole thing started as a struggle for survival. The parents of all these children used to tell the children कि Persi के साथ दोस्ती करो. So that took me into their homes. Then you go to their houses, then you go to their farmhouses, then you go to their palaces. So they have jeeps, they have guns, they have horses. And अपने पास क्या है? साला खेलने के लिए बंदूक भी नहीं है. छोटा प्लास्टिक का बंदूक भी नहीं है. That type. So you are actually growing up with a complex. And there's a strong need to get all this. I'm answering your question because when you said, so that want developed my character. You can have anything and everything in the world if you have right friends around with you, right people with you. So I started realizing that all my life I am going to develop relationship with people. I must tell you this also. I was the first architecture student who went to Holland from MS University for my office training without a single rupee. I remember I was in second year of architecture and it was a vacation. I had come to Surat and one of my friend, Anil Shetty, the owner of Dreamland Hotel, he said कि एक Dutch लड़की आई है यहाँ पे research करने के लिए. She was doing research on women working in handlooms in Salabatpura. So she requires a person who can translate Gujarati into English and English into Gujarati so that she can fill the form. 100 rupees a day. I said, wow, that's an income, yaar, 100 rupees a day. तो मैंने, मगर उसमें मेरा बाइक और मेरा फ्यूल मेरा. I said, okay, done. Two things, 100 rupees a day and a Dutch girl. And that was Esther. And then I met her and then I started doing work with her. We became so good friends, right? And her mother is my host mother, right? So when Esther went to Holland, she arranged the training because तब पहली बार Council of Architecture ने 1 semester training का law लाया.
Okay.
So I was the first batch that was having that opportunity to do a training. No money. And I still remember she sent me letters and fax and all those stuff and I went to Holland and stayed with her. And that exposure actually changed my life. At that age, I traveled, so I realized the only way to actually grow up as a good human being is to travel. So I made a policy that a part of my income will always go for tours and travels. And that is why I brought in this concept of global exposure program also in the college. So it's like one international tour for all students every year, करना ही है. बच्चों को 2 tour एक इंडिया में एक अब्रॉड साल में कराना ही है. So a big chunk of my money is spent on tours. But today when I go back in retrospect and I see, so I tell you, my children are far more confident than the rest. I could actually see them when they deal with people. You know? My first fees, I bought a car. Without trying to say कि भाई पैसा ज़रूरत है. I said no, पहले कार आएगी. You know, that typical middle class mentality भी रहती है. And then you also still want to impress people around.
Yes, of course.
My first fees, I bought a Maruti Omni.
Okay.
Couple of years when I got married, I used to keep on buying old furnitures and people used to laugh कि घर तो छोटा है, 1 bedroom house. मैं कहीं ना कहीं छुपा के वो furniture stock करता था. And I used to say कि one day I'm going to buy a farmhouse. Right? And fortunately, I got Wabis as a wife who is equally passionate about enjoying life. So जैसे जैसे पैसे बनते गए, I did everything that I used to crave as a child. When I say farmhouse, तो farmhouse लिया. animals, a horse, a cow. Just now my farmhouse has cows and dogs and swans and geese and you name it. और पैसा आया तो गन होना चाहिए because नवाब के पास बंदूक थी. It's like pampering a young boy within my heart.
Yourself,
But now when I feel that all those physical manifestation of satisfying your ego, I would still call it ego, right, is done. Now I laugh over it, right? But because that want of getting those things was so strong, it pushed me. And then when you want something so seriously, let me tell you, anything that comes in between, you want to walk over it. That's how it answers your question. That there could be a lot of people trying to pull you down.
Yes.
To hell with them, right? You want something to be done, so you'll walk over them. There are only two things possible.
There is no in between.
There is no in between. या तो आप मेरे साथ हो, तो मैं आपके साथ हूँ, साथ में चलेंगे. या तो मेरे खिलाफ हो, I'll walk over you.
How did you dream of SCED becoming a university? And then, were there any challenges or conflicts that you faced when you were offered this job of becoming the provost?
It was just a matter of a lot of events that kept on happening in life, and like the way when I became the principal of architecture, the principal of engineering college, and the way I kept on doing things in a different way, and that kept on bringing me some, I would use the word glory, because I was really appreciated a lot. And when you get more, you also create a lot of enemies. So, and those enemies sometimes are one of your few good friends. And they don't become enemies because they really are your enemy or they hate you, but they become enemy because of some kind of jealousy or some kind of insecurity. So some very good friends sat on big chairs on a very high post in universities, and then they suddenly realized that Persi could be a threat, right? So they started trying to pull me down, try to humiliate me, trying to cut my pace of moving towards taking the department at a higher level. By that time, I had done great job in architecture college, putting architecture at SCED at the global level in a lot of MOUs and exchange programs and global exposure programs and stuff like that. And of course, the Rubens Trophy at NASA and all our alumni is doing great job. So there was so much of unnecessarily friction that was created out of this insecurity. And the only way I could nullify these insecurities of those people would be, the only solution I thought would be to detach from themselves, from them. Now, the only way as an institution I can detach from a university is to become a university. So this whole idea of becoming a university was, again, of course, it's a very wrong reason why I wanted to become a university. But one of the reasons that prompted me was to get away from this so-called mundane system of trying to control everything. So that was a starting point, and I realized, let's become a university. So I wrote some communication to my management, did some homework, did some study, and we realized that it is possible to become university. Then Corona came and there was lockdown, so that gave us more time to work on preparing our reports, applying to the government. The government also had a system where there is the full 1 year, there was nothing much that they could do, and they understood that there are some good institutions who are wanting to become university. So I think we would be one of the few institutions who became a university without spending a single paisa.
Wow.
Let me tell you, only on our merits.
Wow.
And what was our merit? This 109 years of legacy in education, the history that Sarvajanik Education Society has, and the national or global recognition that our alumni had.
All the while, did you ever aim for becoming a provost?
No, I must tell you this also. I'm sure you must have seen my Facebook post. I was almost in semi-retirement.
Yes, of course, yes.
Right?
Which is what surprised us.
I was spending most of my time at my farm. I had brought some cows and animals at my farm, and I was actually shifting my focus on organic farming and animal husbandry. Right? I was actually selling milk and honey and cow ghee and everything. So I was on the verge of semi-retirement. And by the time I had done so much for myself that I was fully contented. Again, problems like this come. And when problem comes, you take it up as a challenge. So, and there were a lot of people and good wishers who tell me, Persi, yaar, वापिस तू कहाँ पे जा रहा है अंदर? But I said, कि नहीं, अभी हाथ में लिया है, तो उसको वहाँ जाके बैठना पड़ेगा.
You've been a past chairman of IID as well as IIA. And I'm sure that somehow those associations have also, brought in a certain sense of a philosophy of how do I, get everybody together and move forward. So how has that worked out for you?
See, the profession not only gave me a philosophy to bring people together, it in fact shaped my life. Way back somewhere around 1993, 94, Sarosh was doing one of my projects as a contractor.
Okay.
Right? I still remember it was a residence for the police inspector, Mr. Pethani.
Okay.
And
Achha.
Zaware and Sarosh were the contractors. So one day, my office was at Surya Kiran and Sarosh and Azmi were there in the car and they called me for something and we were discussing the design and that's where this whole thing called IID भी था. I think IIA था, सिर्फ IIA था. IIA की बात निकली that why don't you become member of IIA, an Indian Institute of Architects का membership है. तो मैं कहा चलो ठीक है. So that time Azmi was the coordinator of School of Interior Design School. So she said come with your mark sheet and come with check and everything. मुझे याद है 2250 रुपए का चेक मंगवाया था. Lifetime fee of IIA was 2250. तो मैंने कहा कल मैं आ जाऊंगा. And I went to Chancellor Building, first floor. Azmi was there with her big glasses, goggles. Sarosh and Azmi at that time were wearing very big glasses.
Okay.
But a very typical Parsi couple and look, So I went over there. Then I said कि बाहर ये क्या चल रहा है? तो कि interior design का classes चला रहे हैं. There is something called Art and Architecture Education Research Trust. Suddenly she asked, Persi, can you teach? I said, कभी try नहीं किया है. I said, why? So there is one teacher called Manoj Joshi who was teaching building construction and technology, BMCT. But there was some issue with them and Manoj overnight left teaching. He said, I don't want to, some issue हुआ होगा. So the students were complaining कि कोई teacher नहीं है. I said, I can always give it a try. So I was there invited to teach at SID. And I took my first classes in BMCT. And that was the beginning. And because of that, got to know Bharat Bhai and got to come to know R.D. Desai and Tarun Bhai and everybody. And then Tarun Bhai actually took interest in me and tried to help me how to cope up with it. Because Tarun Bhai at the time I think was the coordinator of SID. So he helped me in that sense. And that's how my first step towards coming into academics started because Azmi gave me that opportunity to teach BMCT. So why I told you this story is that it is because of IIA I came into academics. It is because of IIA I met Bankim. So I fostered my best friendship also because of the professional body. And I got into this whole field of academics also because of professional body. So yes, big credit goes to both the professional bodies. And then of course, gradually Bankim became the chairman. उसके बाद सरोज बना, उसके बाद संजय बना, उसके बाद मैं बना. And then because we were all friends, we never really thought कि IID separate है, IIA separate है. So we decided कि we'll have joint meetings together. And that created an even more bigger group where, and when you join, when you have a big group with a similar philosophy and similar vision, all you end up doing is creating a better group. Better friendship. Most important thing professional body taught me is, because I started working, Bankim was the first chairman of IID, how to be methodic, how to prepare an agenda, how to prepare the minutes of the meeting, right? How to prepare the agenda of the meeting also, and how to do welcome and how to extend thanks. And everything was happening in such a systematic way.
Right.
I could take that to the institution. And then the most important thing again happened was that both the IID and IIA became part of SCAT's everything that to do with extracurricular activity.
Right.
So it was like there was nothing that was happening in both these professional bodies where SCAT was never a part
They
of.
were like an extended family.
Right. So that actually gave me the opportunity to take SCAT at this level. IID and IIA and its activities. So both these professional bodies have a
because
very
a lot
big...
of times, young people come up and say, why should I join
I
this?
tell you, I tell this to the students that if I have to tell you how it has benefited me personally and SCET, I must tell you that if you remove IIA and IID from my life, I would be just one more person in the profession whom people would not have known.
A lot of your students, there might be hundreds and hundreds of students that you have shaped in your academic career. And me being one of them, and I'm very proud to say that, me being one of them. And how does it feel to you, seeing the city grow and seeing your students contribute to the growth of the city?
Well, I will not try to take credit out of it, but let me tell you, I must put on record the kind of satisfaction that I get, right? We always wanted to compete with the best. And this is the reason why our students were exposed to a lot of competitive spirit. And today when I see them, like more than 50% of the national awards in IID and IIA are won by Surat designers.
Absolutely.
And all of them, at least 90% of those winners are from SCET. Now what more can you ask for? अगर कोई मुझे पूछता है कि तुमने आर्किटेक्चरल सिनेरियो में क्या किया, या during the break she was asking me, do you miss practice, right? How can I miss practice? Because what I have practiced is creating impact in the city. Right?
Yeah.
If Vishal gets the first person from entire South Gujarat region, the Young JK Award, Architects Award, and I can take that happiness and pride that he was I was his guide during his undergraduate. So my practice has been, you may be shaping buildings, but I am shaping people who will shape buildings.
Well said, sir.
Right?
Well said.
मेरे सफर की अधूरी है कहानियां, हर मोड़ पर जैसे है एक फसाना। मेरे जहन की आवाजों को सुन, कैसे बताऊं तुझे ये सफरनामा। रिश्तों की है मेरी बहुत सी बातें, कुछ अनकहे वादे हैं निभाना। आ पास बैठ, कुछ बातें बताऊं, बड़ा दिलचस्प है ये सफरनामा। ये कहानी है या हकीकत, जरा मुश्किल है ये बताना। मेरे माजी को बयां करता एक एहसास है ये सफरनामा। रेत पर बने वो ख्वाबों के महल, मुश्किल था उसमें घर बसाना। ऐसे आशियाने के परत खोलता, नया किस्सा है ये सफरनामा। अपने कल को याद करता हूँ, आसान नहीं है उसे भुलाना। अपने कल की उम्मीद रखता हूँ, बाकी है अभी सफरनामा, बाकी है अभी सफरनामा।